One room, one bed, one night that would change everything. William Carter stared at the hotel receptionist, rain still dripping from his coat. Beside him stood Candace Mitchell, his CEO, the most powerful woman in the company, the person who held his entire career in her hands. "I'm sorry, sir," the receptionist said, eyes darting between them. "We only have one room left." Outside, the storm howled. Every flight is grounded. Every hotel is fully booked. William was a black single father who lived for his daughter. Candace was the ice queen who let no one get close. What happened in that room? No one could have predicted it. Before we continue, let us know in the comment section where in the world you're tuning in from. We love seeing how far our stories reach. And if this story speaks to you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. 3 days earlier, William Carter sat in the conference room, trying to make himself invisible. It was a skill he had perfected over 6 years at Hartwell and Associates. Show up early, work harder than everyone else, and never ask for anything. The morning light cut through the glass walls as Candace Mitchell walked in. The room fell silent. At 38, she was the youngest CEO in the company's history, and every step she took seemed to remind people of that fact. Her heels clicked against the marble floor like a metronome counting down to someone's fate. "The Henderson Project," she announced, not bothering with greetings. "I need someone to accompany me to Chicago. 3 days, high stakes." Richard Hayes, the CFO, immediately leaned forward. He was the kind of man who had climbed the corporate ladder by stepping on others. And at 45, he guarded his position like a dragon hoarding gold. "I can arrange for someone from senior management," Richard offered, his eyes deliberately avoiding William's corner of the table. "I've already chosen." Candace's gaze swept across the room and landed on William. "Mr. Carter, your proposal last quarter saved us $3 million. I want that kind of thinking in Chicago." William felt every head turn toward him, some surprised, some skeptical, a few openly hostile. Richard's jaw tightened. "With all due respect, he doesn't have the experience. There are more suitable candidates." Candace didn't blink. "I choose people based on ability, Mr. Hayes, not seniority, not anything else." The implication hung in the air. William knew what Richard really meant. He had heard it in 1,000 different ways throughout his career. The subtle suggestions that he didn't quite belong, that his promotions were always just out of reach for reasons no one would say out loud. "The flight leaves tomorrow evening," Candace continued, already moving toward the door. "Don't be late." That night, William stood in his daughter's bedroom doorway, watching her arrange her stuffed animals on the bed. Serena was 6 years old, with her mother's eyes and her father's stubborn chin. She was the only reason he got out of bed some mornings. 3 days is a long time," Serena said, not looking at him. William sat on the edge of her bed. "I know, baby, but I'll call you every night. Just like always." "Promise?" "Promise." She picked up her favorite teddy bear, the one her mother had bought the day she was born, and held it against her chest. William watched her, seeing the shadow of his late wife in every small gesture. "Daddy," Serena said quietly, "are you ever sad?" The question hit him like a fist to the chest. "Why do you ask that?" "Because you don't smile like you used to." She finally looked up at him, her eyes too wise for a child her age. "In the old pictures with Mommy, you smile different, like you mean it." William pulled her into his arms, burying his face in her hair so she wouldn't see his eyes. 4 years since the accident. 4 years of pretending he was okay, of being strong for her, of building walls so high he'd forgotten what it felt like to let someone in. "I smile every time I see you," he whispered. "That's not the same," Serena said. "That's Daddy's smile. I want to see the real one again." He held her tighter, unable to answer. The next evening, William arrived at the airport 2 hours early, his small suitcase packed with exactly 3 days' worth of clothes. He found Candace already at the gate, her laptop open, her face illuminated by the screen's blue light. She acknowledged him with a brief nod. Nothing more. They sat in silence, separated by 3 empty seats and an ocean of hierarchy. William checked his phone every few minutes, waiting for Serena's nightly video call. His sister was watching her, but it wasn't the same. It was never the same. An hour before boarding, the first announcement came. Ladies and gentlemen, due to severe weather conditions, Flight 742 to Chicago has been delayed. William looked out the window. Dark clouds had swallowed the sky, and rain was beginning to hammer against the glass. By 9 o'clock, the delay became a cancellation. The airport descended into chaos. Hundreds of passengers crowded the service desks, their voices rising in frustration. William watched Candace navigate the crowd, her phone pressed to her ear, her expression unreadable. "Everything's booked," she said when she returned. "Every hotel within 20 miles. William had already checked. He knew. They tried 3 more hotels by phone, then 5 more. The storm had grounded every flight on the eastern seaboard, and thousands of stranded travelers had swept through the city like locusts. Finally, Candace found one room, a small hotel near the airport, the kind of place that didn't show up on the usual booking apps. "One room," she said, her voice flat. "It's all they have." The hotel lobby smelled of old carpet and air freshener. A single receptionist sat behind the desk, looking as exhausted as William felt. "I'm sorry," the young woman said, her eyes darting between them. "We only have one room available. One bed. I can offer extra blankets, but—" She trailed off, clearly uncomfortable with the situation. William felt the weight of it pressing down on him. A black man, a white female CEO. One hotel room in the middle of the night. He could already hear the whispers that would follow if anyone found out. Candace stood beside him, her face betraying nothing. She was waiting, he realized, watching to see what he would do. He thought about Serena. About the $3 million he'd saved the company. About the 6 years of being overlooked, underpaid, and underestimated. About the promise he'd made to his wife on her deathbed, that he would give their daughter a better life. This trip could change everything. One successful project with the CEO and doors that had always been closed might finally open. But if he refused, he would spend the night on an airport bench, show up to the meeting exhausted and unprepared, and watch the opportunity slip through his fingers like sand. Richard's voice echoed in his memory. "He doesn't have the experience." William straightened his shoulders. "I'll take the floor," he said. Candace's expression flickered, something that might have been surprise, or maybe respect. She turned to the receptionist. "We'll take it." The receptionist handed over a single key card, her relief evident. William picked up his suitcase and followed Candace toward the elevator, acutely aware of every step. His phone buzzed, a text from his sister. "Serena won't sleep. She's waiting for your call." William looked at the elevator doors closing in front of him, at Candace Mitchell standing rigid beside him, at the long night stretching ahead. He had made his choice, for Serena, for their future. He just didn't know yet what that choice would cost him. The hotel room was smaller than William had expected. A single queen bed dominated the space, flanked by a worn nightstand and a lamp that flickered when he turned it on. In the corner sat an old sofa, its cushions sagging from years of use. The wallpaper was peeling near the ceiling, and the window rattled with each gust of wind. Candace walked in first, her heels sinking into the thin carpet. She surveyed the room with the same expression she used in boardrooms, clinical, assessing, revealing nothing. "The bathroom is yours first," she said, already pulling out her laptop. "I have emails to send." William nodded and retreated to the small bathroom, grateful for even a few minutes alone. He splashed cold water on his face and stared at his reflection in the mirror. The fluorescent light made him look older, the shadows under his eyes deeper than usual. "What are you doing here?" he asked himself. One wrong move, one misunderstanding, and everything you've built could disappear. When he emerged, Candace had positioned herself on the bed, laptop open, typing with focused intensity. She had changed into a simple blouse and slacks, still professional, still armored. William made his way to the sofa. It creaked under his weight, and he could feel a spring pressing against his back. He pulled out his phone and checked the time. 9:47. Serena would be waiting. I need to make a call, he said. Is that? Go ahead. Candace didn't look up from her screen. William walked to the small balcony, sliding the glass door open just enough to step outside. The rain had softened to a drizzle, but the wind still carried a bitter chill. He pressed Serena's contact and waited. Her face appeared on the screen almost instantly, her eyes bright despite the late hour. Daddy! Hey, baby girl. William felt something loosen in his chest at the sight of her. Why aren't you asleep yet? I was waiting for you. Aunt Monica said the plane didn't fly. That's right. There's a big storm, so I'm staying at a hotel tonight. Serena's face scrunched up in thought. Is it a nice hotel? William glanced back through the glass door at the cramped room, at Candace's rigid posture on the bed. It's cozy. Daddy, I drew a picture today. Serena held up a piece of paper to the camera. It's you and me at the park, but I couldn't draw your smile right. What do you mean? I don't know what your real smile looks like anymore. Her voice was matter-of-fact, the way children deliver truths that cut deeper than any blade. Can you smile so I can see? William forced his lips upward. How's this? Serena shook her head. That's not it. That's your tired smile. I want the one from the pictures with Mommy. Through the glass, William saw Candace's fingers stop moving on the keyboard. She was listening. He turned back to the screen, his throat tight. Tell you what, he said. When I come home, we'll practice smiling together. Deal? Okay, but you have to tell me a story first. I can't sleep without a story. William leaned against the balcony railing, letting the cold air ground him. Once upon a time, he began, there was a little princess named Serena who lived in a castle made of blankets and pillows. He wove the story from nothing, the way he did every night, a tale of a brave princess and a tired knight who fought dragons made of shadows and monsters made of worry. The knight always won, but he was always exhausted, always carrying his sword even when the battle was over. The knight should take a nap, Serena interrupted. He's too tired to fight anymore. Maybe you're right, William said softly. Maybe he should. And maybe he should find a friend. Knights shouldn't be alone. William's eyes burned. Maybe, he whispered. Good night, princess. Good night, Daddy. I love you to the moon. And back, he finished. Always and back. He ended the call and stood in the darkness for a long moment, letting the rain wash over his face so he could pretend the wetness on his cheeks came from the storm. When William stepped back inside, Candace had closed her laptop. She sat with her hands folded in her lap, her eyes fixed on some point in the middle distance. Serena, she said quietly. That's a beautiful name. William froze by the glass door. In 6 years of working at the company, he had never heard Candace Mitchell make small talk. Never heard her acknowledge that her employees had lives outside the office. Thank you, he managed. My wife chose it. She passed away. The question was direct but not unkind. William found himself moving toward the sofa, sinking back into its uncomfortable embrace. 4 years ago, car accident. The words came out flat, practiced. He had said them so many times they had lost their edges. Serena was 2. She doesn't really remember her. Candace absorbed this information in silence. Then, unexpectedly, she spoke again. You raise her alone? My sister helps when she can, but mostly, yeah, it's just us. That must be Candace searched for the word. Difficult. William almost laughed. Difficult. Such a small word for something so immense. For the sleepless nights when Serena had nightmares about a mother she couldn't remember. For the school events, where he was the only father alone in a sea of couples. For the constant, grinding exhaustion of being everything to someone when you had nothing left to give. You get used to it, he said instead. Do you? The question hung in the air between them. William looked at Candace, really looked at her for the first time. Behind the armor of her position, behind the ice in her voice, he saw something he recognized. Loneliness. The same loneliness he saw in his own mirror every morning. No, he admitted. You don't. You just get better at pretending. Candace's mask cracked, just slightly. I wouldn't know about that. The raising children part, I mean. She looked down at her hands. I wouldn't know how to be responsible for someone else's happiness. It's terrifying, William said. Every single day. You wake up knowing that this little person depends on you for everything. And if you mess up, you won't. He looked at her, surprised by the certainty in her voice. I've seen your work, Candace continued. The way you approach problems, the care you put into every detail. Someone like that doesn't mess up the things that matter. William didn't know what to say. In 6 years, he had received exactly 2 compliments from upper management. Both had been followed immediately by requests for more work. What about you? He asked, the words escaping before he could stop them. You have family? Candace's expression shifted, a shadow passing over her features. My parents divorced when I was 10. Neither of them particularly wanted custody. I was an inconvenience to their new lives. I'm sorry. Don't be. It taught me valuable lessons. Her voice hardened slightly. Self-reliance, independence, how to need no one. That sounds lonely. Candace met his eyes. It is. The rain intensified outside, drumming against the window like 1,000 impatient fingers. In the dim light of the hotel room, the distance between CEO and employee seemed to dissolve, leaving behind just 2 people carrying wounds they had never shown anyone. You asked me once why I chose you for this project, Candace said. During the meeting, you were the only person in the room who didn't look at me like I was either an obstacle or an opportunity. You looked at me like I was just a person giving a presentation. You are a person,